Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I am here with Krysta Stickler, a chiropractor from Colorado. Thank you for joining us, Krysta.
Thank you for having me. I'm very honored. I appreciate you even asking me to talk with you.
Awesome. Yeah, you bet. You're amazing. I am a patient of Krysta's, and I feel so incredibly lucky to be so because Krysta has so many incredible gifts and talents, and not only in her chiropractic work, but in understanding of people and stress. And she's been able to help me so much. So, Krysta, can you tell us a little bit about you, about your business, how long you've been in business, your journey, and what has led you to where you are today?
Well, yeah. So I'm a chiropractor, as you said. My husband's also a chiropractor. So we team up and have a business together called Longevity Chiropractic. And we've been doing that for 8 years. And I specialize more in pediatrics and maternity. So I have learned quite a bit more in depth when it comes to having to find and really look at different levels of stress or what the body's going through, because a lot of babies and kiddos can't tell you what's going on. So that's, I feel like, been a really interesting part of my journey that's different than even most chiropractors. And so I've learned a lot over the years, and I have definitely, I can attest to what stress does to the body and health. And so, yeah, that's a big part of my journey. I also myself, I was raised very medical. So my mom was a nurse. And when I went to chiropractic school, I realized, wow, there's a whole other journey. There's a whole other part of health that a lot of missing pieces that I had no clue about. And I really wish I would have known growing up, because I feel like I would have been a lot healthier. And so I'm very passionate about not just looking at physical stress, the typical pain, but also looking at nutrition, what the person has gone through their entire life, what they're going through now. In an infant or a child, what did their mom's pregnancy look like? How was their birth? There's so many levels to stress and to pain as a chiropractor that we have to find. And another interesting part about me is that I'm a small chiropractor. I remember almost not becoming a chiropractor because so many people would look at me and be like, well, you're not a big burly guy. How are you going to do anything? And so I thankfully kept going through my journey and found that it has nothing to do with strength. Healing the body or helping somebody's pain levels is so much deeper. And I've had to really fine tune my techniques and fine tune my idea of what stress is to the body, what causes the muscle to spasm, what causes the bone to go into an abnormal position. And so it's been a really cool journey, but I'm very thankful that we can look outside the box when it comes to stress and to pain.
Absolutely. That's amazing. One of those misconceptions that you have to use, blunt force and strength, to make important shifts as a chiropractor.
Right.
It's just one of those misconceptions.
Yeah.
Love how you have this this focused effort in your chiropractic, but you also have this broad view where there are contributors to why this is what it is and the way it is today, and it comes from maybe trauma at birth and experiences throughout life, and that's one thing that at MindBody Dictionary we really harness and believe in, is that there are so many different ways to look at health. My husband is a nurse, and he sometimes teases, he's like, if you're a hammer, you see a nail. And that's just the way it works. And it's true. So often we narrow our focus so much and we just say, well, if there's this issue, then this is the cause of the end, right? But in reality, it's like, no, there's a mentally emotional contributor. There's a structural contributor. There's the neurological, the nervous system, the nutritional, all of the trauma, the emotion, all of these things that contribute to what is reality today for us, and how we can take ourselves from pain into healing. And I just have so appreciated that experience with you, because there's so often I see things with my clients, and some of my clients see you as well, and our combined viewpoint, rather than just a hammer, we have, some other tools in the box.
Yeah.
And we can say, oh, that's what's going on. That's so much more enlightening. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's really interesting because going through chiropractic school, and I think in any healthcare field, a medical doctor, a nurse, any training when you're looking at the body and healing is you have, say we have a diagnosis. We have this disease is caused by what a lot of times we're not looking at. We're looking at the symptoms. We're looking at, well, this muscle spasm and this characteristic matches this disease. And so even going through school, when you're looking at anatomy and physiology of the body, there's a book, right? We have to follow some kind of structured guideline, and you have to know that in general, the brain controls the body, and, we have that concept. But then there's also this idea that, and you take an individual person, and there are few that follow those fine print in the book.
Yeah.
There's few, and it's so, it can get messy, it can get difficult, but the beauty of stepping outside that box is it's not hard to figure out what's going on with somebody. It's not hard to figure out where this came from, or the place that they're in right now in a diseased or an ill state. It's the fun part has been being able to say, well, just tell me a little bit about your life. Tell me a little bit about what's going on right now. And it's really funny because as a chiropractor, most people have already gone through the typical medical route, trying to find the cause to their disease, especially if they don't want to take a medication or something like that. They're coming to me, and I have to really step outside the box and say, you can catch it in some people. You can see that they are just going through some sort of stress or some other trauma or something else that is keeping them in this horrible ill state. And so when you start just asking simple questions, tell me a little bit, what else is going on? When did this start? What else happened there? And people's eyes light up like, well, nobody's ever asked me that. And I didn't think it had anything to do with my arm pain or my back pain. And so when I really started digging into that and seeing this other aspect, and of course meeting you and other individuals that have fallen, especially in the last few years, when we start working with people, like, oh wow, they're hanging on to a trauma that they've had for a long time, or that they're dealing with now, and it's keeping them from letting go of the tension in their body. It's keeping them from healing at their full capacity. And so especially looking outside the box, and again, I like to talk about infants as an example, because they can't talk to you, they can't tell you what's going on. So you really have to dig deep with what did their birth look like? Is the mom stressed out right now? You will be amazed at how many times I have been working with a kind of a stubborn case, and it's just time after time, and I'm like, why? This baby really should be relaxing and letting go of its tension, but why is it not? And I look at mom, and babies feel what their moms feel, or that they feel their surrounding too. So then you tap into that, and amazing miracles happen. And that's, yeah. So it's really neat to dig deeper into a puzzle and find these, what we think or currently kind of state as extraordinary things, when really they're very simple, and they're very logical,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I had an experience with mother and baby where we were able to narrow it down to about 6 weeks in the womb. There was something happened at 6 weeks. What was going on? And she just, eyes wide, jaw drop, and her husband was sitting there. kind of like, we're not going to talk about that, you know. So that was fine, but just addressing that there was some kind of stress there, and later on we were able to talk about the actual stress and you know, deal with it and help understand and appreciate how that tension became tension also for the baby, and now the baby was trying to process that and what, you know, and just how that kind of fear and that kind of heightened state put that baby into a place where it was tense. It was like, what do I do with this? And then that didn't change. It was stuck in the tissues, even, you know, for those 9 months and beyond. And so when we dealt with it, the baby was able to calm down. And I'm sure that you see similar things when you're, you know, looking at mom. It's the current state, but it can also be something that happened forever ago that may have been resolved for mom, but the baby wasn't processing it quite.
Right. Right. And that's been, you and I have worked on a few cases together that have been just even amazing for me. I sit back sometimes and go, wow, that was cool. You know, it's funny because, and a lot of, especially adults, a lot of people don't like dealing with their trauma or this outside I just have pain and I want it to go away. And so, you know, a lot of times as a chiropractor, you can work on the muscle, you can work on the joint, you can get things to better itself. But what about those cases where they just keep coming back and they just keep coming back? And we can look at how they're sitting, how they're standing. You can look at all those other factors that cause pain per se, or disease. But what about the energy state that they're in? Like, something that I've really taken into consideration in the last couple of years is, everything has a level of frequency. And, you know, you kind of mentioned frequency, and a cell has to have a frequency and a charge and an energy to work, right? If you look at videos of how energies work and how they take nutrients and build something and replicate our DNA, it's absolutely phenomenal, and nothing anybody can explain. I don't think you can see it. I don't think you can really explain it. And so when you start considering at this deeper level of what about the energy state of that muscle that's not functioning? What about the energy state of that joint? What about the energy state outside of that and the brain control to that? A thought, and we've seen this in several studies, a thought can create a negative energy that goes down to the body and creates some kind of tension. Your sense of what's your surrounding, your environment, how much that plays into somebody. And there are people who are capable of blocking that, and there's some who can't, who take it on a little bit more. And so looking deeper into that has been a magic key for me, especially because I can be working on, let's say, an adult. One of my favorite cases is a gal. I had seen her in this, I mean, I've seen her here and there, and she was kind of a maintenance patient, just kept up just to feel good. And man, she went through this phase where she was just week after week after week, and you could see the frustration in her and the tears almost every single time. And I finally had to dig deep and ask her, okay, hold on a minute. We're fighting almost this endless battle, and I'm becoming a Band-Aid. I'm not really healing you. What is going on? And she finally opened up and started talking about her daughter's situation and this super high stress that they were going through as a family. And I went, oh my gosh, I actually sent her straight to you because I knew. And when she finally dealt with that and learned a different way to process her emotions, and her body was like a brand new body, I was so thankful. And you see that a lot in a parent-kid situation too. Like you said, we've worked on a couple of babies together that just made their treatment so much easier when we finally dealt with this emotional stress, or this, you know, and we call it emotional stress, but it is physical too.
Yeah, it's both.
Yes, it's very physical.
It has to go somewhere. It comes from somewhere, and it's got to go somewhere, you know. And that's the thing is we can see expressions of emotion, right? We can see when we express it. But emotion is one of those, it's kind of like the wind. It's a little bit not tangible, right? We can see, oh, look, there's wind, the tree is moving. Or you can feel it on your skin, but you can't actually feel it and touch it or catch it or put it in a box. That just doesn't work. And emotions are very similar to that. They're like the weather. We just cannot put it in a box and say, bam, this is what it is, the way we can with our fingers and toes and legs and arms and back, right?
Right.
But when emotion settles in an area of the body, when that weather settles in an area on the earth, right, we can see the repercussions. We can see the effects of it. And if we look at those effects and we say, okay, let's backtrack. Where did this come from? Oh, there was a lightning storm. Okay, well, that makes sense, right? Now, and in our life, it was like, oh, there was this, big collision. We just had this conflict or whatever it was. You find that in your body, and then you say, okay, well, if it's in my body, then it's my emotion that I'm dealing with, right? It's not just everything around me, which of course affects us, but it's how you're supposed to internalize it. That's where you find it in your body. And like you said, with that patient who was really struggling with what was going on with her daughter, and then she dealt with the emotions and her body shifted, it's because she's now internalizing the situation differently than she was internalizing it before. She was internalizing it with a great deal of stress versus shifting, and then internalizing in a way that's like, okay, this is manageable. I can actually hold my space in a way that now counterbalances the stress that's around me, right? That's, some trees go down in a storm and some send strong, and you want to be one of those that send strong, and you're able and capable and have that strength within you.
Yeah. A lot of people come to a chiropractor as a last resort, or even to you when we're thinking of this mind-body connection. It's the last place we think about. And it's such a huge tool that that does make us stronger. And once somebody actually goes through the experience, they're like, wow, I wish I would have known about this a long time ago. I really wish I would have known about this missing piece. And that's the beauty of it, and why I love what I do, because it's so rewarding and it's so effective. I'm sure there's been cases where it didn't work for someone, right? Because it does not, it may not for somebody, or they're not ready for it yet, right? But gosh, not over 90% of the time, it is that piece that makes that person, that being, so much stronger to withstand their environment, their stress. And that's the fun part of flipping this, right? We a lot of times look at the cause of what caused this, right? What caused my pain? If I have somebody come in and 2 years ago, I started with this condition or this pain. Okay, what happened 2 years ago? I have no idea. Okay, let's dig deeper. Let's ask more questions. Did you have any emotional trauma? Did you have any major stress going on in that time? Oh yeah, my dad was actually really sick and he passed away. And it started this cascade. Or I changed new job, or I went through a new condition. So it's funny how we're just trained to think as a physical stress. As chiropractors, we're taught there's 3 causes to dis-ease, dis-ease, right? Just non-ease in the body.
Yeah.
Thoughts, toxins, traumas.
Wow.
So obviously a trauma is, I fell on my butt on the ice and now it hurts. Okay, let's deal with that, right? Toxins, what about environmental toxins? What about food toxins? What about, those kind of toxins? And then thoughts, which taps into emotional, physical stress. And those are the things that can lead into pain. So the brain is just this amazing key to unlinking. We always look at what causes, but what about flipping that? And that's the beauty of something that I've seen you do so wonderfully, is taking that person's thought process to, gosh, I can't believe I went through that. And this happened to me. This happened to me. Okay, let's flip it around. Now, now I'm here. Now I know how to process it. Now I know how to deal with my stress. And when you do that, the physical body just releases so much more. And that has been beautiful when it comes to my practice and what I'm seeing with people healing. And it's really magical.
Yeah. Well, along with releasing physical toxins, it's the mental toxins, right? It's the emotional toxins, because they can be toxic. Toxic thoughts equal toxins in the body, or toxic thoughts will basically tell, it's the neurological communication to the body saying, hey, those toxins in there, just hang on. Don't let go. We're hanging on because we're mad, right? Like, and so it's just, we're going to hold on to those toxins because the body is actually very wise and it does know how to release those toxins, right? But if you're eating junk food and you're eating junk thoughts, then you're going to hold on to junk, right? And if you release your junk food and you say, I don't even need that, and you release your junk thoughts and you don't even need that, and you replace it with joy and peace and light and interest and curiosity and discovery, well, there's not room for it, you know? And that's one thing that we do also offer on the MindBody Dictionary, which I know you've really appreciated, is having those lists of food, you know, because you can search all sorts of things of, hey, don't eat this, and here's all the lists of things to not eat, right? And it's sometimes it's kind of hard to be like, okay, well, what do I eat? If I can't have any of that, then what do I eat?
Yeah.
It goes to, I'm going to fill my plate with things that are going to really help me. Well, there's just not room for the junk. And it's the same thing with the thoughts. We can really empower ourselves by having those thoughts that are positive. Now the other side of that coin, it is if you're not honest with it, you can go into denial, and that will cause pain in the body too. So if you're like, I'm happy, I'm positive all the time, then it's not really real, because if mom died, or if your child was sick, or if you did fall on the ice, you know, there's pain there. It's legitimate pain, and it needs to be faced. And actually, that's where the detox, or the, you know, experiencing it and releasing it, is so important, including realigning, you know, and not only mind, heart, and body, but spine and neck and cranial sacral. All of those things are so important.
Yes, it's really neat. Part of our job as chiropractors is, and they told us this in school, sometimes you're going to feel like a psychologist too. Sometimes, you know, because you can be working on somebody and you can tell those people that are literally escaping their world. They don't want to talk about anything. They don't want to deal with anything. And for me, I'm the one that I can recognize that, and I'm like, I push every time, and gently, you know, everyone wants to face their own things at a certain time, but when they finally reach that point and they do face their problems, or they face their traumas, or they face what they're escaping, then they don't have as much trouble changing their diet or changing their lifestyle, getting out of a nasty situation that they're in. You know, that ability to face your problems really does start the healing process. And thank goodness for the world we live in, for people, chiropractors, acupuncture, massage therapists, energy healers, you know, any type of that, what most people refer to as like outside the box alternative care. You heal and you reach this place that you've never been, and it's so beautiful. And that's been such a beauty in the beginning of my practice. You know, you adjust, and then I started seeing this, why are some of those so stubborn? And when we started getting into this, it just changed to where you can take these severe cases, like you said, those ones that are really escaping, or those ones that don't want to deal with it, and you can change their life completely. And those people that have never been able to lose weight, or they've never been able to get away from severe pain, finally face it and finally get out of it. And That is so huge. And the MindBody Dictionary has been amazing, because the simplest thing I can do, especially for some who really don't want that in-person contact, or some just think, oh, I don't need it, or I really just don't want to face some of my stuff, they can pop that open and, oh my gosh, wow, that is what I'm going through. And then when they start, it triggers that little seed, and then they can get to that next step. And that's the beauty of it. It's really neat. It's really, really neat.
Yeah, well, and I imagine if they're willing to do it there, that when they come in, there's a little bit more willingness to talk about it, and or they've dealt with it and now they're willing to, their body tension is, it's less, and your job becomes more effective in less time.
At 100%. Yeah, 100%. And that energy that you're talking about in food, I don't know, I use essential oils too, and I love those. Interesting little fact is, when they have books or guides that you can look up, what do I use this oil for? What do I use this for? So they've actually measured the frequency of an oil, and every oil has a different frequency. I imagine just like every food has a different frequency. Yeah. Even how that food has been grown, a same plant could be grown in two different situations and have a different frequency. That frequency matches a frequency of an emotion, or a frequency of a muscle, a frequency of a cell, a frequency of a different joint. You start looking at these different frequencies of and the world is starting to actually measure these now, right? We're seeing that more. But that to me has been another mind-boggling thing that opened my eyes to a lot more, is just, we can match these things. And that's how you can find, this food helps me with this condition, or helps me with that. And so people who are really able to tap into it, and I've learned to do that myself, because I was not a healthy person before. And I was always really skinny, could eat what I wanted, but I was really sick. I was really, really sick, and really young and really sick. And so now my vibration in life is so much more. And something I think it's important for people to hear too, is that it's a constant journey.
Yes.
Right? We come up with new stresses. We're always going to have to deal with this. Sometimes we think we're going to cure ourselves, we're going to get rid of this, and it's going to be all okay, and we can go back to doing whatever we want. No, it's a constant journey, just like working out, right? You work out to build muscle, and if you stop, muscle goes away. Same thing with your mind, body, spirit connection. You have to keep working on ourselves, because we're going to keep living.
Yes.
You have to keep your body, or your food, because you have to keep vibrating. And that's my new mantra lately, is reaching this new frequency, whether that's with my prayer, or that's with work, being consistent in my self-care, reaching a new vibration. And it's such an easier life to live.
For sure. We're constantly moving. We're either moving up or we're moving down. There's no such thing as stagnation. It just doesn't happen. It's not possible. And so if someone looks at it that way, and they say, okay, what do I want my life to look like tomorrow, in a week, in a month, in a year? And then you consciously choose, and what the way you're saying it too makes it so much more possible. So a lot of times people are like, well, okay, how do I rid of this emotion, And a lot of times, they're like you said, there's people go through avoidance. They start with their avoidance, and then they head into awareness of some kind that leads into a choice. And then at that choice spot, they have to say, okay, what am I going to do? Well, there's a reconciliation that has to happen. There's a reconciliation of whatever it is, those pain. And then once you've had that reconciliation, you've faced it, you've released it, you've detoxed, well, then you can go into I get to choose whatever I want now. I get to choose whatever I want today. And because life offers challenges and stresses every single day, it's going to challenge that choice, and it's going to challenge and say, okay, what are you going to do with this new circumstance? And you get to choose every day. And you'll get stronger and stronger, or you'll get weaker and weaker if you decide to fall into old patterns, or if you decide to rise above them. But can you imagine if all of a sudden you resolved a stress, and, you know, the big one, whatever it was, the one that was just consuming your life, it was resolved. And then you woke up in the morning, you had none, and you just had none. I personally prayed for that once, and I got that answer. It is mind-blowingly boring.
Right. Right.
And I don't know if I even lasted a week. I was like, I just want no problems. I just want nothing to go wrong ever, you know? And I kind of felt that. And it was just this dull existence. And I was like, oh, never mind. I don't want that. I want to keep growing, because growing's way more fun than falling. And apparently if you're not growing, you're falling, you know? And so having a stale existence just isn't where it's at. I much prefer to have challenges that I see as opportunities, challenges that I see as growth, which includes, in my world, chiropractic, and balancing out that system and seeing, oh, look, here's my new challenge. What's going on that's creating this? And then it's so much more fun. Why go when you're in pain, right? Like, which of course I still do, because that still happens, right? Yeah. But I really, boy, I enjoy those times that I come for a visit, and it's just like, ooh, I didn't know that was there, you know, like, let's take care of that one. This is, you know, anyway, there's just it's a way of.
That's why you need each other. And a lot of times I think are really, I don't mean to call this person sick, but there are some people that are like, I'm fine, I'm good, I don't have anything. And I know to be like, okay, well, I'll wait. We'll just keep working on that, because we all do. We're all human. And I love working on you. You and your kids are probably my favorites, because, and I do have others like it. We're not the only oddballs, but you know, I can be working on the body, and you feel this muscle, and it's like, okay, this is a pretty normal tension. And then I work up the spine, and I feel this joint, and it's like, okay, let's get that to adjust and move. Easy. Let's go up here. Oh my goodness, what is going on right there? And I can't tap into what you can, or you know, but I can say, hey, right here at like T12, you're extremely locked up. And if I try to push that, it's probably going to hurt you. And can we deal with what's going on there? And you start dealing in, oh, yeah, okay, let me balance that out real quick. And then that joint moves. It's amazing. I mean, that instant too. That instant. And that is how powerful the mind and the body connection are.
Yeah.
Huge. And sometimes, sorry, I know we could go on for a minute. Sometimes it's the other way around too, right? Where somebody won't deal with an emotion. I've had several times, especially cranial work really brings out a lot of emotions. Mm-hmm. You start working on somebody, and all of a sudden they just start bawling. They just start crying. I'm like, good, let's deal with this. What's going on? I don't know what that did. I don't know why that released that emotion, but I just thought about this, you know, this situation, and they finally let that emotion out. So sometimes releasing that trigger in the body will release the emotion in the mind, and that's absolutely. It's all a beautiful connection.
It's amazing, and that's such a gift. You know, that's one of the purposes of even getting this information. I'm like, this information needs to be out to as many people as humanly possible, and then encouraging people to keep going to get help, because, you know, having more information, it empowers us in an incredible way. But it's that same concept is, I can understand this, and sometimes people will read it like I see that, but I refuse to feel it. I'm too scared to feel it, or I just feel like there's this default refuse to feel it. But then you get into the physical body, like what you just said, and it releases. And if you have the awareness of what that is, and you can say, oh, here it comes, and then you can release it, rather than saying, you know, what you would have said without the awareness. Without the awareness, it's just like, here's what my default response is to shh. You know, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. But if you get in there and you feel it, the physical pushes the emotional out, right? And you're aware of that, and then you release it. And there's been times, I know you've, you know, worked on my neck or my back or whatever it is, and I'm like, I know what that one is, you know. I know where that one's coming from. And then it's just the most perfect opportunity to release. You know, yeah. But coming in with that awareness, it's just so much more powerful. It's like, man, this is something everyone needs. This is something everyone needs to have access to, so that when they come in, and they get treatments for whatever it is, whether it's the nutrition or the acupuncture or energy or chiropractic or pharmaceutical, if they're getting surgery or any of those things, the experience is 10 times more incredible, more transformative, goes deeper, and then life just continues. It's phenomenal.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, when any situation, I hope that somebody watching this can know that this may be their start of their journey, or this may be another research component of them learning something. I love listening to summits or to interviews, because what you see is that it's not just here, it's not just us, it's everywhere in the world. And there are books that focus on quantum physics in chiropractic, or in mental or physical connections and to disease, organ disease, or to a physical pain to an organ. The list goes on and on and on. And there's so much out there. And hopefully we can provide, maybe a list of things that we have too for other listeners. But it is, life really does, in any situation, in childbirth, how the mom views that, how she deals with it, in her child, just bringing up her children, in our jobs, in our relationships, in our, any of this, you add pain is another component to adding stress. Stress is another component to disease. And when you find those people that can help you and change your mind frame and help get your body out of that, you can handle all those things that you cannot escape so much greater. So much greater. And you have no choice. It's either give up or you be stronger. And I think when you find those pieces, it's really phenomenal. Yeah.
And with the way the world is right now, and it seems to be spiraling into more and more chaos all the time, we really are faced with that choice, I feel like, on a daily, constant basis of, will I fall into chaos with what I see in the world, or will I choose to rise above it and really become something more than what is available right in front of me, perhaps, right? And or maybe, totally somewhere else, but is being highlighted right in front of me. And that's a choice we all are facing right now, because it's easy to fall into the fear, to fall into the pain and stress that's no longer even our own in our own lives, but distractions from dealing with our own. But allowing ourselves to be real with what is, backing up and saying, I really want to be my highest and best, even today, and even today, and even today, as the days go on, right?
Yeah.
So, Krysta, what last thought would you leave with other chiropractors or professionals, or even patients that you hear are listening to this? What thought would you leave with them that might help them along their path?
Keep researching, keep looking. There's a point in everybody's life where things get ugly, things get hard, your pain gets worse. Know that when you open up this door, when you open up this idea, it will come, and you'll find the right person, and you'll find the right key to helping you get to this next level. And for any other chiropractor, there's so much more. There's so much more, but you have to be, my husband and I are different too. We're very different. And he attracts the patients that are more like him. And I attract more patients that are more like me. And we really trust that that's the way it's supposed to be. That's here for a reason. That's happening for a reason. And so call it the universe, call it a higher source, call it whatever you want. But when you finally step into opening another door, there is so much more. And I think those doors can continually come, for all of us to reach a new vibration. But it's there. There's so much more out there that's there. Think outside the box. And know that the body and brain are amazing, and there's no one thing that will ever, maybe one day, not right now, be able to fully explain what's going on. But let go of that. Yeah. Let go of that and just trust and connect with that. And when you do that, things go a lot easier. It really does flow. And I have to remind myself that all the time too. I really do. I get caught up in, oh gosh, maybe I can't help this person. Maybe I can't. I'm not the person they need to be here for. No, I'm trusting they're here for a reason. And I'm trusting that I'm going to listen, I'm going to feel, and I'm going to just talk to this person. And we can reach a new level no matter what. So.
Thank you so much for all of your insights, your experiences, for sharing them with us, for taking this time with me, and for all
my husband's out mowing the lawn and I can hear the lawn. So for all of you, my kids are knocking at the door, and life stressors, right? But we keep moving on.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. We so appreciate it, and so appreciate the good that you do every day, and who you are and who you're becoming, and the light that you shine. So just thanks so much.
Thank you, and likewise, because I appreciate you very much.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll chat with you again soon.
Okay, bye.